ध्यान का समय समाप्त हुआ। तो अब हम आगे विनय पिटक का पाठ करेंगे। 14 सारिपुत्र मोगलान पवज्जा कथा। इंद्र जी, मैं पाली में पढ़ देता हूँ, आप इंग्लिश में पढ़ देंगे। ओके,
ठीक है।
थैंक यू। तेन कोपनसमयेन संचयो परिवाजको राजगृहे पटिवसति महतीया परिव्राजकपरिसाय सद्धिं अड्ढेतेये हि परिव्राजकसतेः। तेन कोपनसमयेन सारिपुत्र मोग्गलाना संचये परिवाजके ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति। ते हि कतिका कथा होति, यो पठमं अमतं अधिगच्छति सो इतरस्य आरोचेतुति। अथ को आयस्मा अस्सजी पुब्बसमयं निवासित्वा पत्तचीवरमादाय राजगहं पिण्डाय पाविषि पाशादिकेन अभिकन्तेन पटिकन्तेन आलोकितेन विलोकितेन समीजितेन प्रसारितेन इर्यापथसम्पन्नो अर्धशाखो सारिपुत्रो परिवाजको आयस्मन्तम् अस्सजिं राजगृहे पिण्डाय चरन्तं पाशादिकेन अभिकन्तेन पटिकन्तेन आलोकितेन विलोकितेन समिञ्जितेन प्रसारितेन औत्थित्यचक्षुं इर्यापथसम्पन्नं विश्वानस्य एतद्होषि। ये वत् लोके अर्हन्तो वा अर्हत्तमग्गं वा समापन्ना अयं तेषं भिक्खु अय्यतरो यन्नुनाहं इमं भिक्खु उपसङ्क्रमित्वा पुच्छेयं कंसी त्वं आहुषो उद्दिश्य पवज्जितो को वा ते सत्था कस्य वा त्वं धम्मं रोचेसीति। अतिखो सारिपुत्रस्य परिवाजकस्य एतद्होषि अकालो को इमं भिक्खुं पुच्छित्तुम् अन्तर्घरं पवित्रो पिण्डाय चरति यन्नूनाहं इमं भिक्खुं पिठ्ठितो अनुबन्धेयं अत्थिके हि उपज्ञातं मग्गन्ति। अथ को आयस्मा अस्सजी राजगृहे पिण्डाय चरित्वा पिण्डपातम् आदाय पटक्कमी। अथ को सारिपुत्रोऽपि परिव्राजको येनायस्मा अस्सजी तेन उपसङ्क्रमित्वा आयस्मता अस्सजिना सद्धिं सम्मोदनीयं कथं सारणीयं वीति सारयित्वा एकमन्तम् अट्ठासि। एकमन्तं थितो को सारिपुत्रो परिव्राजको आयस्मन्तम् अस्सदिन् एतदुवोच। विप्रसन्नानि को ते आहुषो इन्द्रियाणि परिशुद्धो छविवर्णो परियोदातो कंसी त्वं आहुषो उद्दिश्य पवज्जितो को वा ते सत्था कस्य वा त्वं धम्मं रोचेसीति। अथ आवुसो महासमणो शक्यपुत्रो शक्यकुलापवर्जितो ताहं भगवन्तं उद्दिश्य पवज्जितो शोचामे भगवा सत्था तस्य चाहं भगवतो धम्मं रोचेमीति किं वादीपनायस्मतो सत्था किमख्यायीति अहंको आवुसो नवो अचिरपव्रजितो अधुनागतो इमं धम्मविनयं नाताहं शक्नोमि वित्थारेण धम्मं देशयितुं अपि चाते संखितेन अर्थं वक्ष्यामीति अथिको सारिपुत्रो परिवाज्यको आयसमन्तं असजिं एतद्वोच होतु आवुसो अप्पं वा बहुं वा भाससु अत्थं एव मे ब्रूहि अथ नैव मे अर्थो किं काहसि व्यञ्जनं बहुन्ति अथ को आयस्मा अस्सजी सारिपुत्रस्य परिवाजकस्य इमं धम्मपर्यायम् अभासि ये धम्मा हेतुपब्बवा तेषं हेतु तथागतो आह तेषं च यो निरोधो एवं वादी महासमणोति अथ को सारिपुत्रस्य परिवाजकस्य इमं धम्मपर्यायं श्रुत्वा विरजं वीतमलं धम्मचक्षुमुदपादि यं किञ्चि समुदयं धम्मं सब्बं तं निरोधधम्मन्ति एषैव धम्मो यदिदावदेव पच्यव्यथ पदं शोकम् अदिष्टं अभ्यतीतं बहुके हि कप्पन् हुते हि अतिको सारिपुत्रो परिव्राजको येन मोगलानो परिव्राजको तेन उपसंकमी अदस्सासो मोगलानो परिव्राजको सारिपुत्रं परिव्राजकं दूरतो आगच्छतं दिस्वान् सारिपुत्रं परिव्राजकम् एतद्वोच विप्रसन्नानि को ते आवुसो इन्द्रियाणि परिशुद्धो छविवर्णो परियोदातो कङ्क्षीणो त्वं आवसो अमृतम् अधिगतोति आमावसो अमृतम् अधिगतोति यथा कथं पन्त्वं आवसो अमृतम् अधिगतोति इदाहं आवसो अद्दस्सं अस्सजी भिक्खुं राजगहे पिण्डाय चरन्तं पाशादिकेन अभिकन्तेन पटिकन्तेन आलोकितेन विलोकितेन समयुञ्जितेन प्रसारितेन ओक्षितचक्षुं इर्यापत
यहाँ पे रोक लें?
संपन्नं पे नहीं ये बस खत्म हो जाएगा
अच्छा।
फिनिश हो जाएगा अथ को मोगलानस्य परिवाजकस्य इमं धम्मपर्यायं श्रुत्वा विरजं वीतमलं धम्मचक्षुं उदपादि यं किञ्चि समुदय धम्मं सब्बं तं निरोधधम्मन्ति एषैव धम्मो यदि तावदेव पच्यव्यथ पदं शोकम् अदिष्टम् अभ्यतीतं बहुके हि कप्पन् हुते हीति ठीक है यहाँ तक करते हैं, यहाँ तक करते हैं। जी जितेंद्र जी आप पढ़ दीजिए।
At that time, the wanderer Panchaya was staying at Rajagha with a large group of 250 wanderers, including Sariputta and Muggalana. The two of them had made an agreement that whoever reached the deathless first would inform the other. Just then, Venerable Assaji robed up in the morning, took his bowl and robe, and entered Rajagaha for alms food. He was pleasing in his conduct, in going out and coming back, in looking ahead and looking aside, in bending and stretching his arms. His eyes were lowered, and he was perfect in deportment. The wanderer Sariputta observed all this and thought, this monk is one of those in the world who are perfected or on the path to perfection. Why don't I go up to him and ask, in whose name he has gone forth, and who has his teacher is or whose teaching he follows? But it occurred to him, it's the wrong time to ask him while he is walking for alms food among the houses. Let me follow behind him, for one who seeks the path will find it. After walking for alms in Rajagaha, Asaji turned back with his alms food. Sariputta then went up to him and exchanged pleasantries with him. And he asked, Venerable, your senses are clear and your skin is pure and bright. In whose name have you gone forth? Who is your teacher, or whose teaching do you follow? There is a great ascetic, a Sakyan, who has gone forth from the Sakyan clan. I have gone forth in his name. He is my teacher, and I follow his teachings. But what does he teach? I have only recently gone forth. I am new to this spiritual path. I am not able to give you the teaching in full, but I can tell you the meaning in brief. Sariputta replied, Yes, please. And he added, Speak little or much, but do tell me the meaning. I just want the meaning. For what is the point of a detailed exposition? And Assaji gave this teaching to the wanderer Sariputta. Of causally arisen things, the Buddha has declared their cause as well as their ending. This is the teaching of the great ascetic. When he had heard this teaching, Sariputta experienced the stainless vision of the truth. Anything that has a beginning has an end. Now, this is the truth. Even just this much, the sorrowless state that you have penetrated, unseen and neglected, for innumerable eons. Then the wanderer Sariputta went to the wanderer Muggalan. And Muggalan saw him coming. He said to Sariputta, Your senses are clear and your skin is pure and bright. You haven't attained the deathless, have you? I have. But how did it happen? Sariputta told him everything up to and including the teaching given by Assaji. When he had heard this teaching, Muggalan experienced the stainless vision of the truth. Anything that has a beginning has an end. Now, this is the truth, even just this much. The sorrowless state that you have penetrated, unseen and neglected, for innumerable eons. अब आप पढ़ेंगे ना?
Yes. अतिको मोग्गलानो परिवाचिको सारिपुत्तं परिवाचिकं एतद्वोच गच्छामयं आहुसो भगवतो सन्तिके सोनो भगवा सत्थाति इमानि खो आहुसो अड्ढतेयानि परिवाजक सतानि अम्हे निस्साय अम्हे सम पस्सन्नता यद्विहरन्ति तेऽपि ताव अपलोकेम यथा ते मय्यस्सन्ति तथा ते करिष्यन्तीति अतिको सारिपुत्र मोग्गलाना येन ते परिवाजका तेन उपसंक्रमिन्सु उपसंक्रमित्वा ते परिवाजके एतद्वोचुम् गच्छाम वयं आवुसो भगवतो सन्तिके सो नो भगवा सत्थाति वयं आयस्मन्ते निस्साय आयस्मन्ते सं सम्पस्सन्नता इद विहराम सचे आयस्मन्ता महासमणे ब्रह्मचर्यं चरिष्यन्ति सब्बेव मयं महासमणे ब्रह्मचर्यं चरिष्यामाति अतिको सारिपुत्र मोग्गलाना येन संचयो परिव्राजको तेन उपसंक्रमिन्सु उपसंक्रमित्वा संचयं परिव्राजकं एतद्वोचुं गच्छाम्यहं आवुसो भगवतो सन्तिके सो नो भगवा सत्थाति अलं आवुसो मा आगमित्थ सब्बे वितयो इमं परिहरिष्यामाति द्वितीयम्पि खो पे तृतीयम्पि खो सारिपुत्रमोग्गलाना सञ्चयं परिवाजकं एतद्वोचुं गच्छाम्यहं आवुसो भगवतो सन्तिके सो नो भगवा सत्थाति अलं आवुसो मा अगमित्थ सब्बे वितयो इमं परिहरिष्यामाति अथ को सारिपुत्र मोगलाना तानि अड्ढेतेयानि परिवाजक शतानि आदाय येन वेलुवनं तेन उपसंक्रमिन्सु सञ्चयन्स पन्न परिवाजकस्य तथैव उन्नं लोहितं मुक्तो उग्गच्छसि अदृशासो भगवा सारिपुत्रमौद्गलाने दूरतोव आगच्छन्ते विश्वान् भिक्खु आमन्तेषि एते भिक्खवे द्वे सहायका आगच्छन्ति कोलितो उपतिस्सो च एतं मे सावकयुगं भविष्यति अग्गं भद्रयुगन्ति गम्भीरे यानविषये अनुत्तरे उपदिशङ्ख्ये विमुक्ते अपत्ये वेलुवनं अथने सत्था व्याकाशी एते द्वे सहायिका आगच्छन्ति कोलितो उपतिस्सो च एतं मे सावकयुगं भविष्यति अग्गं भद्रयुगन्ति अथ को सारिपुत्र मोग्गलाना येन भगवा तेन उपसंक्रमिन्सु उपसंक्रमित्वा भगवतो पादेषु शिरसा निपित्वा भगवन्तं एतद्वोचुं लभ्येयाममयं भन्ते भगवतो सन्तिके पवज्जं लभ्येयां उपसम्पदन्ति एत भिक्खवोति भगवा अवोच स्वाखातो धम्मो चरत ब्रह्मचर्यं सम्मा दुःखस्रन्तक्रियायाति सावदेशम् आयस्मन्तानं उपसम्पदा अहोसि म्यूट पर है हरेंद्र जी म्यूट पर है
Moggallana said to Sariputta, "Let us go to the Buddha, he is our teacher." But these 250 wanderers look to us for support. We must tell them first, so that they may take appropriate action. And they went to those wanderers and said, "We are going over to the Buddha, he is our teacher. But we look to you for support. If you are to practice the spiritual life under the great ascetic, so will all of us." Then Sariputta and Moglan went to Sanjaya and said, "We are going over to the Buddha. He is our teacher. Don't go. The three of us can look after this community together." Sariputta and Moglan said the same thing a second time and a third time, and they got the same reply. Then they took those 250 wanderers and went to the bamboo grove. But the wanderer Sanjay vomited hot blood right there. And the Buddha saw Sariputta and Moglan coming. He said to the monks, "The two friends Kolita and Upitassa are coming. They will become my most eminent disciples, an excellent pair." They had not even reached the bamboo grove, yet had a profound range of knowledge about the supreme end of ownership, about freedom. And the teacher said of them, These two friends are coming, Kolit and Upatis. They will be an excellent pair, my most eminent disciples. Sariputta and Moggallana approached the Buddha, bowed down with their heads at his feet, and said, Sir, we wish to receive the going forth in your presence. We wish to receive the full ordination. The Buddha said, Come, monks. The teaching is well proclaimed. Practice the spiritual life to make a complete end of suffering. That was the full ordination of those venerables.
अगर किसी को कोई चीज समझ नहीं आई हो या पूछना हो तो अभी आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं, नहीं तो फिर मैं 14.1 में आगे पढ़ूंगा।
मैं निखिल जी जानना चाहती हूँ कि कॉन्टेक्स्ट क्या था ये जब हमने जो पढ़ा अभी, उसकी पार्श्वभूमि क्या थी, मतलब।
इसमें बेल्यूबन को बिम्बिसार जी जो राजा थे, उन्होंने इससे पहले वाली कथा में था कि भगवान बुद्ध ने अलाउ कर दिया था कि मोनेस्ट्रीज को अलाउ करेंगे, तो भगवान बुद्ध वहां रहते थे। और जो सारीपुत और ये थे, सारीपुत का पहले का नाम था उपतिस और मुगलान का पहले का नाम था कोलिता। सो दे वर लाइक कि हम थक चुके हैं जीवन में बहुत सारे। उन्होंने उसका पहले का प्रसंग था कि वो एक मेले को देखने गए, 3 दिन तक मेला देखते रहे। फिर उनको लगा कि ये होता क्या है, सामने वो वाला हंसाता है तो हम हंसते हैं, अगर सामने कोई दृश्य आता है तो हम रोते हैं, तो ये कब तक चलेगा। देन दे थॉट कि हमें we should seek something beyond this. And then they started wandering. And while wandering, they were with this person. संजय नाम है, इसमें संचय लिखा है। एंड फिर भी उनको अंत में कुछ क्लियर नहीं हो रहा था, तब सारिपुत्र ने इनको देखा, सजी को देखा। एंड ही गॉट सम सेंस ऑफ अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि शायद इनके पास क्या कहते हैं, धम्म इनको मिल चुका है। दैट्स व्हाट आई अंडरस्टैंड। एंड बाकी लोग भी इसमें अपनी राय दे सकते हैं कि क्या मैंने आंसर सही दिया या फर्दर देना है।
थैंक यू वेरी मच।
एक एडिशनल पीस ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन ये है कि अस्सर जी was one of the group of five who got the hearing from Bhagwan about Dhammacakkavartin Sutta, and after that Aditya कौन सा था Tilakhan Sutta, so that they became arhants after that. So he was one of the first 5 disciples of Bhagwan Buddha.
थैंक यू सो मच।
एक्चुअली ये हमने इसमें भी पढ़ा था, मुझे रिमाइंड फिर से अच्छे से हो गया। जो ग्रेट डिसाइपल ऑफ बुद्धा बुक्स हम सुबह पढ़ते थे 2021 22 अराउंड, उसमें ये चीज लिखी हुई है दोनों की। प्लस इट विल बी गुड फॉर द मेमोरी टू रिमाइंड दीज नेम्स। अभी मैं भूल जाता हूँ, एक तो अस्सजी थे, संजय थे शायद, और कौंडिन्य तो थे ही। वो 5 भिक्षुओं के नाम वी कैन कीप इन माइंड, इट्स वंडरफुल। सो मैं आगे पढ़ता हूँ। ऑल्दो जो मेरे लिए इंटरेस्टिंग है वो सारिपुत्र की पारमी है कि उन्होंने ये 4 लाइनें सुन के एंड ही गॉट समथिंग आउट ऑफ इट।
हाँ, वो मुझे भी बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग लगा। Not only that, he says कि who wants to listen to detailed explanations? Tell me briefly. That was very interesting. और आप सारिपुत्ता की सूत्रास भी देखो ना,
हाँ
तो his he has this knack of giving very brief teaching and then explaining them thoroughly.
यस सर।
हाँ जी, बट मुझे ये भी लगता है कि मतलब कितना पुण्य किया होगा उन्होंने पास्ट लाइफ में कि और वो कैसा वक्त होगा, मतलब हम 2 मिनट से इमेजिन नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि आज के टाइम में बहुत मुश्किल होता है।
Oh, same. Vishal ji wrote the same stuff. That shows the level of his parmi. That short teaching was enough. Yes, true. In जातक कथाएं स्मिता जी ऐसा मिलता है कि they were together and Sariputta was this, Buddha as a bodhisattva was that. So yeah, that's true. And interestingly, um, uh, उस ग्रेट डिसाइपल ऑफ बुद्धा में लिखा था कि शायद एक ही बार ऐसा हुआ जब सारिपुत्र ने गलत बोला और महामुगला ने सही बोला। रिगार्डिंग सम मीटिंग चल रही थी तो भगवान बुद्ध ने बोला कि मैं थक गया हूँ, तो महा सारिपुत्र ने सोचा कि डिसमिस करते हैं मीटिंग। देन महामुगला ने बोला कि आप चाहते हैं कि हम दे यहाँ पर आपके बदले। दैट इज द ओनली ओकेजन जहाँ पर सारिपुत्र was at fault. Otherwise, he was always able to read the mind of Buddha in that sense.
और मैं इसको प्रोफाउंडली अगर थोड़ा देखती हूँ कि चलो 2 भिक्षु छोड़ के अगर उनकी फ्रेंडशिप भी देखे या रिलेशनशिप, वो मुझे एक ट्रस्ट बिल्डिंग और मतलब इट्स बियॉन्ड समथिंग विच, एंड मैं थोड़ा सा कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइज कंटेम्पररी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में करती हूँ चीजों को देखते हुए। ये मैं थोड़ा सा नेचर रहा है बचपन से बहुत क्रिटिकल ज्यादा थिंकिंग थी, हालांकि एक्स्ट्रा क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग थी बट इसमें आके बैलेंस हो गई हूँ, तो वो भी मुझे एक बहुत अच्छी क्वालिटी लगती है।
Yes. नहीं, आपको मैं उसका पीडीएफ का लिंक भेज दूंगा इसमें ग्रेट डिसाइपल ऑफ बुद्धा में। उसमें सिंस यू आर टेलिंग तो मुझे याद आ रहा है कि सारिपुत्ता पिछले जन्म में एक समय एक बहुत बड़े इन्होंने चूज किया था पाथ ऑफ साधना, और महामुगला ने चक्रवर्ती सम्राट जैसा कुछ पाथ चूज किया था। दे बोथ वर इन दैट मैनर in their one of their previous lives. So yes, I'll send you the PDF link as well if you can read
जी
those two.
जी, थैंक यू
निखिल जी,
जी
अभी हमें जाने का जब मौका मिला ना नालंदा में,
हाँ
जी।
तो आजान ने भी काफी एक्सप्लेन किया था। ये दोनों बोथ आर रिलेटिव, सारीपुत्ता एंड महामुगलाना। एंड
अच्छा
सारीपुत्ता बिलोंग्स टू ए वेरी रिच फैमिली। उस समय कहा गया कि इन्होंने करीब कई करोड़ रुपए उस टाइम थे, इनकी मदर काफी नाराज हुई इनसे और इसको छोड़ के चले गए।
यस
तो ये आपसे ही कह रहे हैं, उसी बुक में भी है और लाइफ ऑफ बुद्धा है। 2-3 चीज का वो उसमें मैंने पूछा भी था अजान से कि आपने ये जो रेफरेंस लेने हैं, कहाँ से लेने, तो उन्होंने बोला कि ग्रेट डिसिपल डिसाइपल ऑफ बुद्धा और लाइफ ऑफ बुद्धा, दीज आर द 2 बुक्स वे आई एम टेकिंग द रेफरेंस ऑफ दिस। तो उसका काफी इमोशनल जो इन्होंने बताया है कि जब वो शरीर छोड़ना चाहते थे, उनको नॉलेज हो गई थी, सब अवेकनिंग हो गई थी, तो वो वापस गांव आते हैं और अपनी मदर को भी, जहाँ 500 मॉन्क्स होते हैं तो उनका काफी अटैचमेंट होता है अपनी मदर के साथ, तो मदर को भी काफी वो एक्सप्लेन करते हैं सारीपुत्ता जी। तो इट वाज अ वेरी इमोशनल स्टोरी, जो उस समय शरीर छोड़ना उनका और इस तरीके से उनका काफी एक्सप्लेन किया था। इट वाज रियली वेरी ग्रेट थिंग।
और जहाँ तक मेरी जानकारी है कि सारिपुत्र और मुगलायन दोनों भंते जी के धातु भी यहाँ पे है, सांची में रखे गए हैं। और श्रीलंकन गवर्नमेंट नवंबर के महीने में एक फेस्टिवल भी करती है।
Oh, I see. I see.
Oh, great.
जी, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ऑफ श्रीलंका ही शुरू दिन से इसको लुक आफ्टर कर रही है कि जैसे हम महाराष्ट्र में जाएंगे तो केव्स है अजंता एलोरा, तो ये पूरे केव्स को भी बहुत सारी फॉरेन गवर्नमेंट ही फंडिंग देख के मेंटेन करती है, एएसआई को भी। मतलब ये तो मैंने खुद देखा हुआ है वहां का, बट ये वाला देखने का रह गया सांची का।
That's great. और उसका भी श्रेय शायद सम्राट अशोक के बेटे महेंद्र को जाता है, जो श्रीलंका धर्म को ले गए। And then now Sri Lankans are taking care of our stup somewhere. So with the permission of you all, I will move ahead. Abhiya tan pabbaja, abhiya tanang pabbaja. The going forth of the bellon. तेनिकोपन समयेन अभिज्ञाता मागधिका कुलपुत्ता भगवती ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्ति मनुष्या उज्झायन्ति खिंयन्ति विपाचेन्ति अपुत्तकताय पटिपन्नो समनो गौतमो वेधव्याय पटिपन्नो समनो गौतमो कुलुपच्छेदाय पटिपन्नो समनो गौतमो इदानी अनेन जटिलसहस्रं पब्बाजितं इमानि च अद्वितीयानि परिवाजकशतानि संचयानि अब्बाजितानि इमे च अभिज्ञाता मागधिका कुलपुत्ता समणे गौतमे ब्रह्मचर्यं चरन्तीति अपिषु भिक्षुदिस्वा इमाय गाथाय चोदयन्ति आगतो खो महासमणो मागधानं गिरिव्रजं सब्बे संचयेन त्वान् कंसु दानि नयिष्यतीति असोऽसुं को भिक्षु ते मनुष्यान् उज्झायन्तान् खीयन्तान् विपाचेन्तान् अथ को ते भिक्षु भगवतो एतमर्थं आरोचेषुं पे न भिक्खवे सोऽसद्यो चिरं भविष्यति सत्ताहमेव भविष्यति सत्ताहस्य अच्चयेन अन्तर्धायिष्यति तेन हि भिक्खवे ये तुम्हें इमाय गाथाय चोदयन्ति आगतो खो महासमणो मागधानं गिरिभजं सभ्ये संचये नीत्वान् कंसुदासि नयिष्यतीति ते तुम्हें इमाय गाथाय पटिचोदेथ नयन्ति वे महावीरा सद्धम्मेन तथा गता धम्मेन नयमानानं का उसूया विजानन्ति तेन कोपन समयेन मनुष्या भिक्षुदिस्वा इमाय गताय चोदयन्ति आगतो खो महासमणो मागधानं गिरिभजं सभ्ये संचये नीत्वान् कंसुदानि नयिष्यतीति भिक्खु ते मनुष्ये इमाय गताय पटिचोदयन्ति नयन्ति वे महावीरा सद्धम्मेन तथा गता धम्मेन नयमानानं का उसूया विजानन्ति मनुष्या धम्मेन किरसमिना शक्यपुत्र्या नेन्ति नो अधम्मेनाति सत्ताहमेव सो सद्यो अहोसि सत्ताहस्य अच्छयेन अन्तर्धायि सारिपुत्र मोग्गलान् पवज्जा कठा निठिता चतुर्थ बाणवरो निठितो
The going forth of the well-known. At that time, many well-known gentlemen from Magadha were practicing the spiritual life under the Buddha. People complained and criticized him. The ascetic Gautam is making us childless. He's making us widows. He's breaking up good families. 1,000 dreadlocked ascetics have now gone forth because of him, and also those 250 wanderers who were disciples of Sanchya. All these well-known gentlemen from Magadha are practicing the spiritual life under the ascetic Gautama. And when they saw monks, they confronted them with the verse, "The great ascetic has arrived at Giribhaja in Magadha after leading away all of Sanchaya's disciples. Who will he lead away next?" The monks heard the complaints of these people, and they told the Buddha what had happened. The complaining will soon stop. It will only go on for 7 days. Still, when people confront you like this, you can confront them in return with this verse. Indeed, the great heroes, the Buddhas, led by means of a good teaching. When you understand this, what indignation can there be toward those who lead legitimately? Soon, when they saw monks, people confronted them with the same verse. The great ascetic has arrived at Giribaj in Magadha after leading away all of Sanchaya's disciples. Who will he lead away next? And the monks confronted them in return with this verse. Indeed, the great heroes, the Buddhas, led by means of a good teachings. When you understand this, what indignation can there be toward those who lead legitimately? People thought, so it seems the Sakyan monastics lead legitimately, not illegitimately. The complaining went on for 7 days and then stopped. The account of the going forth of Sariputta and Muggalana is finished. Sariputta Muggala, the fourth section for recitation is finished.
What is the meaning of indignation?
Anger.
Anger.
Not happy.
Okay.
Also, I found it very interesting. This name Giribaj I have not come across before. गिरिबज इन मगध, ये कभी पहले सुनने में नहीं आया मेरे। ये सावती के पास ही होगा कहीं, या तो
Yeah, they should have said Veluvan, right? Veluvan में है ना? Maybe Veluvan के अंदर गिरिबज है, probably.
वेलुवन तो एक वन होगा ना, फॉरेस्ट, उसके अंदर।
That's what I understand. शायद वही
Veluvan is normally regarded as a place for the first monastery that they set up. बिम्बिसार ने उन्होंने लैंड डोनेट की थी, लेकिन गिरिबज क्या है वो क्लियर नहीं है।
Yes sir, you're right. अभी तक तो ऊपर वाली हमने पढ़ी थी, वो तो बैम्बू ग्रोव यानी वेलुवन की ही बात थी, जहां पर सारीपुत्त आए थे। नाउ इन दिस केस, और ये मगध, बिम्बिसार वाज द किंग ऑफ मगध, राइट? ओके, प्रोबब्ली इनसाइड दैट बैम्बू ग्रोव दिस गिरी मतलब पर्वत होता है, कोई पर्वत होगा, कोई माउंटेन होगा।
ओह, गिरी गिरी तो बिल्कुल ठीक है, पर्वती है, तो उसका नाम जो आज की डेट में वो क्या बोलते हैं, जो राजगिर जो है, उसका ही नाम क्या गिरिभज है?
वो राजगृह था, वो
हाँ,
राजगिरी
नहीं वो
बन गया।
गिरी है ना, एक पर्वत जहाँ पे
हम्म,
राजगिरी है, तो वैसे उसको राजगृह कहते हैं, बट है वो राजगिरी, मतलब वो पर्वती है, इट्स अ हिल। जहाँ पे टॉप पे बैठ के,
इट्स अ हिल जहाँ पे बुद्ध मेडिटेशन करते थे।
हाँ हाँ, वही राजगिरी।
अभी
उसमें
भी मानते हैं।
आनंद की भी उसमें कुटी वो है, केव है,
जी
और
जी।
टॉप पे बुद्ध की केव।
और
भगवान,
अभी भी ऐसे मानना है कि मतलब जो बहुत सीरियस मेडिटेटर है वो बताते हैं कि उनको वो पॉजिटिव वाइब्रेशंस
हाँ,
आती।
I had been recently to that place.
हाँ,
So
I had gone once only when I was student.
it's very difficult to climb that. बहुत मुश्किल है, lot of height.
And Vishal ji, आपने comment लिखा था, you have more to say because there is always more to listen from you.
Well, I guess the only thing I could add is that, it's interesting that Sariputra and, of course, lots of others in the Pali Canon, they can see the Dhamma while listening, sort of. So, so there's an understanding that you need to have the person be in jhana in order for them to be able to see the Dhamma. But as we can see in this story, this was a normal conversation occurring. And but the spiritual faculties of Sariputta and obviously others is so ripe already that and the contemporary Thai Kubajans do talk about that even today, where you could be in a regular waking state, but the samadhi in the mind is at a very high level already. So you could be in upachara samadhi and actually be talking or walking or doing regular, apparently regular activities, but the mind has such power and strength, and the paramis are so close to this level of perfection that just with the right indication, as in this very pithy teaching by Asaji, he can see the Dhamma to the level where he lets go of personality view, Sakaya Ditti. So obviously that suggests that the practice that he'd even done in this life, because the story Sariputta is that both he and Mahamoggallana for decades had been practicing when they finally came across this teaching. And we don't know what sorts of practice that they were doing, but we can assume that they were doing different types of samadhi practice or ascetic practices, which were prevalent during that time. So again, goes to show that these spiritual faculties are present in the mind, at all times, and it's just the right sort of indication, and then their breakthrough can occur. So I think that's sort of inspiring for everybody. I think it is for me.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for those observations. Interesting that Upachara Samadhi is there and a person is doing the uh, daily jobs as well. So that's
Yes, so there's actually quite a few talks by Ajahn Anan and Ajahn Tan and others where they talk about this. The samadhi, we think of samadhi as the state of like altered consciousness, or it's not like that. I mean, it can be like that when you go into like a jhanic state or apana samadhi. Those states cannot be observed, cannot be accessed in this process where you're just sort of doing your day-to-day activity. But I think we've talked about this in a prior conversation that upachara samadhi is a very large territory of mental unification. It's not full unification, but it's a level of mental clarity and stability which traverses all the way from Khandhaka samadhi, which is just like a very beginning level, sort of where the mind comes together for a few seconds or a minute and then falls apart. But the Upachara Samadhi extends all the way from Khandhaka Samadhi territory all the way to full unification. So it's a huge territory that that you traverse through, and if we follow Samma Samadhi, which is the idea of using right view in order to attain samadhi, then you can experience levels of upachara samadhi during your regular life. And that's the whole practice we've talked about when we listen to some talks, where you keep the mind always in the center. You're always watching the mind and letting go of its desire to cling to, a greed or hatred, and just sort of moving like that. So as we do that, and that's Samma Samadhi, and as that practice is refined, then the mind very quickly can stay in the state of calm at all times or most times. But of course, I think it requires practice, as we see with Sariputta. He was able to see the Dhamma with just one sentence of teaching. Yeah, so it's very inspiring.
So are you saying that Upchar Samadhi is that territory, like one end is Khanik Samadhi and other end is complete unification, and whatever in between is Upchar Samadhi?
Yes, so that's how the Kubajans teach. The Upachara Samadhi, goes from that, sort of, once your mind is able to access tranquility, and it might be experienced either as a sense of the body becoming soft or expansive, and as the samadhi progresses. Now, this is obviously when you're actually sitting and concentrating, but I don't want to use the word concentrating. I think that's probably incorrect, but allowing this process to express itself. They can be these feelings of rapture and tranquility. They could be, different experiences of that. And it can start off from a very sort of gentle experience of that to a very high experience where there could be rapture, which can be actually quite, possibly difficult to manage, but then all the way, as the Kubajans teach, that it extends all the way then to where these feelings become more and more refined, so they're not so exacerbated, and then the mind basically folds upon itself, and then the full unification. So yes, it's taught as a very wide territory. So if you talk to a meditation master, they will be able to assess where you are in that practice. And again, going back, very importantly, is that it has to be what's called Samma Samadhi. So it's got to be based on the right view teaching, as we know in the Eightfold Noble Path. That comes first. So it has to be based on the Satipatthana in a way. Keeping the mind centered and letting go of greed and hatred and that sort of thing. And when we use that practice, then we can keep that experience during daily life by keeping the mind always on a very short leash and keeping it centered.
Wow, thank you.
That's very nice, Vishalji, to hear you explain all this. I have another question in this context.
Sure.
First of all, what does the word upachar actually mean? Does anyone know? Upachar Samadhi.
I honestly do not know the meaning of that, Sundar Prasadji. I think somebody could. I think potentially Rajinderji might know, because isn't that a Pali or Sanskrit word? Yeah.
उपचार is for रोग, हिंदी में बोलते हैं उसका उपचार क्या है, ये तो मुझे हिंदी का तो I know that you have some disease and you seek the remedy, so remedy is उपचार in Hindi, and that's
Okay.
what I know.
Anyway, we can find out from the dictionary.
And one more explanation I want to offer, sir. Like upavis matlab please sit near. So upachar is like we are nearing towards this side. Upachar matlab we are nearing towards Dhamma.
So actually that's very good, because then it makes sense, because upachara samadhi is considered neighborhood to jhana. So perhaps that's the context, you're saying nearby. Yeah. So yeah, it's considered access to jhana. So full absorption. Maybe that's why it's called upachara. Yeah.
मैं बता दूं, उपचार समाधि जो है वो ध्यान की ही एक अवस्था है, नजदीक, ध्यान के नजदीक हम पहुंचते हैं, उसी को उपचार समाधि कहते हैं, जहां तक मेरी
मैं जो पढ़ पा रहा हूँ वो ये उपकार समाधि, द मेडिटेटर एक्सपीरियंस ए heightened level of the concentration and absorption, weaving the way for deeper states of meditation. If you have more, this is has been explained.
हाँ, यही है उपचार समाधि का, यही परिभाषा है कि मैंने भी बहुत पहले, अब मुझे इतना याद नहीं है, लेकिन बहुत पहले मैंने भी यही मतलब समझा था जो बता रहे हैं आप त्यागी जी.
Yes,
Good.
that's correct.
Good. दूसरा क्वेश्चन, the second question I have is, इस context में जो both Sariputta and Moggallana see the stainless with the stainless eye, तो उसका एग्जैक्ट जरा देखेंगे वो एक्सप्रेशन क्या है. एक सेकेंड.
ये वाला कह रहे हैं सर?
हाँ, नहीं, इससे थोड़ा सा ऊपर, जरा सा ऊपर. हाँ, they experience the stainless vision, और इसमें है धम्मचक्षुंग उत्पादी. I think that's probably what it means, right? So this does not mean final realization, but just stream entry, perhaps.
Yes, that's right. That is seeing the Dhamma. Seeing the Dhamma is stream entry. Attaining the Dhamma is arahantship.
Right. Thank you.
Sure.
दीपक जी, आप भी कुछ पूछ रहे हैं? दीपक सूरी जी.
हाँ जी, विशाल जी, can you please explain the meaning of the word unification which you have used now? What exactly is the meaning of this word, unification?
Yes, so I would say that, it's sort of probably a problem of linguistics and trying to explain samadhi, a different experience of samadhi in English. But in the tradition of the Thai Kuba Ajahns, complete unification is considered appana samadhi or jhana. And so that's usually what it's used for, like a complete unification. One could use the word absorption, complete absorption. But yeah, it usually denotes a very advanced form of mental absorption, equivalent to like a jhana or appana samadhi.
Okay, thank you.
एसपी जी, आप पूछ रहे थे ना स्टेनलेस विजन ऑफ ट्रूथ.
जी.
इसमें ये था, दिस इज एसोसिएटेड विद द सारीपुत्ता, रेफर टू द आइडिया ऑफ द सारीपुत्ता एज वन ऑफ द चीफ disciples of the Buddha, attained a level of insight and wisdom that was untainted or free from defilement. This stainless vision is often associated with the direct and unobstructed understanding of the ultimate truth of Buddhism, such as impermanence, suffering, and non-self.
हाँ, नहीं, वो तो ठीक है. That is what.
This is actually explained.
But it refers to the stream entry at this stage. That is, you see the truth once, but you don't become it.
Absolutely.
Regarding Deepak Suriji's question, Vishalji, could we say that unification refers to the mind being completely at one with the body, and there being really no difference between, I mean, in some sense, unification refers to unification of the mind and the body. Does it make sense to talk like that?
Probably not, I would say. Unification is a mental, it's a process of the mind. So from that
As if the whole body is part of the mind in some sense.
Yes, I guess you could say that, because there is not awareness in that state of the body per se. You see, like in certain, like when you're even in upachara samadhi at certain stages, and I'm sure people on this call have probably experienced it to some degree, the mind tends to start losing awareness of the body, right? The body feels sort of like absent, or you might feel it as a very soft, sort of fuzzy perception of the body, or in some cases, people might feel the body's expanding, or the mind or the awareness is rising up to the ceiling. So all of these states where the mind starts to withdraw inwards and the attention is not so much in the body per se. So yes, but I would say that to some degree what you're saying, Srila Prasadji, is probably a good way of thinking about it. But really the full absorption, as the Kuvajans describe it, is the mind and the contents of the mind, the observer and the observed within the mind collapse into each other. So that may be one way of thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you for wonderful, knowledgeable discussion. परित्य पाठ करेंगे प्रतिदान की गाथाएं। हंदमयं सब प्रतिदान गाथायो बड़ाम से आए हम सब प्रतिदान गाथाओं का पाठ करें। पुण्यस्य इदानी कतस्य यान अय्यानि कथानि मे ते संच भागिनो होन्तु सत्ता अनंतापमाणका। जो भी पुण्य मैंने आज किए हैं या जो भी अन्य पुण्य किए हैं उन सब के भागीदार अनंत असीम प्राणी हो। ये पिया गुणवंता च मह्यं माता पिता दयो दिट्ठा मे चा अपि अधिष्ठा वा अये मज्जत्तवेरिनो। वे मेरे गुणवान प्रियजन, मेरे दयालु माता पिता, अन्य तटस्थ अथवा वैरी मैंने देखे हों या नहीं देखे हों, सत्ता तिष्ठन्ति लोकस्मिन् ते भूमा चतुर्योनिका पंच एक चतुर्वोकारा संसरन्ता भवा भवे। वे प्राणी जो इस लोक में हो, तीन लोकों की चार योनियों में हो, पांच एक अथवा चार स्कंद वाले भव संसरण करने वाले हों। यातंगे पत्तिदानं में अनुमोदन्तु ते स्वयं ये च इमं न प्रजानन्ति देवा ते संनिवेदयुं। जो मेरे इस प्रतिदान को जानते हैं वे इसका अनुमोदन करें, और जो इसके बारे में अनभिज्ञ हैं देवता उन्हें इसकी जानकारी दें। मया दीन्नान् पुण्यान् अनुमोदन हेतुना सब्बे सत्ता सदा होन्तु अवेरा सुखजीवनो क्षेमप्रदं च पप्पोन्तु तेषा सा सिद्धतं शुभा। मेरे इस पुण्यदान के अनुमोदन से सभी प्राणी सदा निर्वैर हों, सुखी हों, शांति का पद प्राप्त करें, उनकी सभी शुभ इच्छा पूर्ण हो। भवतु सब मंगलम रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब बुद्धानुभावेन सदा सोद्धि भवन्तु ते। भवतु सब मंगलम रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब धम्मानुभावेन सदा सोद्धि भवन्तु ते। भवतु सब मंगलम रक्षन्तु सब देवता सब संघानुभावेन सदा सोद्धि भवन्तु ते। अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तम् अभिवादेमि। स्वाकातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि।
Thank you, Nikhil. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.